Good. Before we even call the roll, I might as well take this opportunity to say hello to everyone who's joining us. I'm the village attorney, and the reason we're meeting remotely in this fashion is because of the executive order emergency disaster proclamation that Governor Pritzker has extended through about September 20th, I think. Mostly, I'm sure, due to the Delta variant. The village had reopened. We had a couple of meetings, but given the concern over the spread of the Delta variant, the village of Riverwoods and most of the other towns have resumed having these electronic meetings. Because it's an electronic meeting, we're keeping a recording of this as we're required to do by the Open Meetings Act. And obviously procedurally, we have a few more difficulties in recognizing people and making sure people don't speak over each other. So if you would please keep yourself muted until you're recognized by Lori Brightcoff, the chair, that would be very helpful. That's it.
All right. Well, I think we can get started. We call the meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Sure. Mr. Blaylock?
Here.
Mr. Dot, absent. Ms. Greditor, absent. Mr. Levin?
Here.
Mr. Rothbart?
Here.
Chairperson Brightcoff?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. Our first order of business is the approval of the minutes from July 1st, 2021. I don't remember, did we see these a long time ago? I don't even remember now.
I think we saw them. We started to edit them, and then I just maybe sent you a note, Lori, that since Sherry and Jay can't be here tonight, I suggest we just put these over to the next meeting.
All right, that sounds like a good plan. Do we need to,
We'll just, they're not available, so.
Okay, all right, we will put that over to our next meeting. Are there any visitors wishing to address the Plan Commission besides people who, yes, Ms. Schaefer. You are on mute.
And this would be on matters other than what's on the agenda. Everyone will be recognized later for agenda matters.
Okay, I'll hold off then.
Okay, would anybody else like to address the commission other than about the agenda items? I do not see any notations. All right, old business, we have none. New business. This is the public hearing to consider a text amendment and an amendment to the special use ordinance. Bruce, would you like to lead into this?
Sure. We're here tonight. It's a public hearing to consider two different documents. One is a text amendment to provisions of the Riverwood zoning ordinance concerning the neighborhood business district, the B1 district, particularly section 9(5)(b)(2)(a), governing certain retail uses in a mixed-use plan development. The other document we're considering is an amendment to the special use ordinance, the original ordinance that governs shops. It's ordinance number 02-8-23, under which a special use for mixed-use plan development was granted for the property at 2001 to 2055 Milwaukee Avenue in Riverwoods, Illinois, known as the Shops of Riverwoods. Just by way of background, the zoning ordinance in the village of Riverwoods.
And so there's a picture of them, you know, and then I enjoyed our dinner to celebrate Glenn's.
You know, there's somebody here who needs to please mute their phone.
Would everybody please mute who's not talking?
The one that's all.
Okay, it looks like we're okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
The Riverwood zoning ordinance can be amended, and we call that a text amendment. That is, we go into the zoning ordinance itself and we change the language of the ordinance. The first item up on the public hearing tonight is such an amendment that would change how the ordinance actually reads. In this case, the section involved is the section that lays out a number of uses that can be authorized in a mixed-use plan development. A mixed-use plan development under the Riverwood zoning ordinance is a development that's on 3.5 or more acres, and it can include a number of retail uses. It can include other uses as well. The Shops of Riverwoods was approved as a mixed-use plan development back in 2002. And at that time, the ordinance approving it listed a number of uses that could be operated at the shops. Some of them were these retail uses. There were other restaurant uses. There were service uses like banks. Many of you remember Panera used to be there. The way that that section of the Riverwood zoning ordinance works is that any mixed-use plan development can operate with any of the uses that are spelled out in that section 9(5)(b)(2)(a), as long as the ordinance approving of the special use for the project doesn't go out of its way to exclude any of those uses. So the shops had probably 20 or so retail uses originally approved back in 2002. Along the way, different retail uses have appeared that we didn't think about in 2002, and that the Board of Trustees has allowed to be operated at the shops. There's a procedure for doing this within the Riverwood zoning ordinance where the Board of Trustees finds that a proposed use is similar and compatible to the uses that are already there. That doesn't require anything other than an ordinance of the Board of Trustees. We've had probably 3 or 4 additions and deletions to the uses that are allowed at shops over the years. The most recent addition was that the village board authorized a cannabis dispensary as a type of use that could be allowed at the shops. So recently, an owner came in asking for having a tobacco store at the shops. And the village board again found that a tobacco store was similar and compatible to other uses. Since it had already added a cannabis dispensary as a possible use, it didn't see a reason to treat that any differently. Tonight's request is by an applicant seeking to have a video gaming parlor as one of the uses at the shops. The applicant will present its case later. I would say that right now, if you look at the list of uses that can potentially be operated at the shops, a video gaming parlor that's done for gaming purposes is not allowed. So in order for this to be even considered as a possible use at the shops, the text of the zoning ordinance has to be changed to include that type of use. Staff has drafted a proposed amendment, text amendment, where the additional use that could be considered at the shops would be called a licensed establishment. That's a special term of art that's defined from the Video Gaming Act of the state of Illinois. And it's one of those regulated activities that allows for essentially a terminal at which you put in a coin or a token and you play blackjack or one of the other types of games. The requirement for a licensed establishment is that, first of all, the village has to have a place in its zoning that would even allow such a thing. When the Video Gaming Act came out about 10 years ago, the village opted out and doesn't currently have any video gaming machines anywhere in the village. If the village wanted to have a video gaming machine, the board would not only have to change the zoning at shops, it would also have to adopt another ordinance repealing the earlier opt-out that it made about 10 years ago. Another requirement for a licensed establishment is that it has to have a liquor license. It can't operate without a liquor license that the village issues. So the Village of Riverwoods, in addition to defining a licensed establishment, allowing it to be a possible use at shops, allowing video gaming in the village, would also then have to come up with a classification of a liquor license, which currently doesn't exist, and which the board has rather broad discretion, and would have to authorize a liquor license to be issued for this video gaming parlor. If the zoning changes were made, if the village opted in, and if the village issued a liquor license and any of the terms and conditions of the liquor license were violated, the village could rescind the liquor license. It has done that with previous businesses or threatened to do so when there have been violations. And without the liquor license, the video gaming parlor could not operate. So this is one of those uses where there are several levers and means of control that the village has. But to begin with, the first hurdle is to have a licensed establishment listed among the list of uses that could be authorized at shops. The second ordinance that's under consideration tonight, or amendment, is an amendment to the special use ordinance for shops. It presupposes action on the first request. If a licensed establishment becomes listed as a possible use at shops, the next question is, does the ordinance that approves shops itself then refer to that use as one of the uses that can be allowed at shops? Obviously, the applicant doesn't want us to go to the trouble to list a gaming parlor as a potential use at shops and then not follow through by actually approving a video gaming parlor among the uses that can be authorized at shops. So it's a two-step dance in order to get to that point. When the Plan Commission considers a text amendment, basically it's using its best judgment about what's in the best interest of the village. The applicant doesn't have a legal right to a text amendment necessarily. I don't think this is a situation where in some zoning context, an applicant can argue that a zoning change is necessary because of the change in the neighborhood, what's happening in nearby properties, changing circumstances. But in my judgment, the decision to amend our zoning to allow a video gaming parlor as a listed use resides within the village, and there's a great deal of discretion as to whether that advances the public interest or not. I think the judgment of the village board as to whether that advances the public interest is a legislative judgment, and I think that a reviewing court, for example, would have very little reason to disturb the judgment of the village board. So this is really an open-ended, it's a request by the applicant knowing full well that the village is not, again, somebody, if they could mute their phone, please. Hello?
Nancy.
Nancy?
Thank you. So the village is not, this is not a situation where if we don't grant this particular request, we've denied some fundamental right. This is a matter of some discretion as to whether listing a video gaming parlor advances the public welfare at the site. The standards for actually amending the special use for the shops are actually specified in the zoning ordinance. They're quite specific, and they're listed in the staff report, which the Plan Commission has. The three basic criteria are that the amendment of the special use is deemed beneficial for the public convenience. The amendment of the special use is so designed, located, and proposed to be operated that the public health, safety, morals, and welfare and interests will be protected. And third, that the amendment of the special use will not cause substantial injury to the value of other property in the neighborhood in which it is located. In preparing for tonight's hearing, we prepared notices of what is being proposed, both in the text amendment and in the amendment to the special use. So two separate notices. They were both mailed out to property owners within a 300-foot radius of the shops of Riverwoods. We also published the notices in the Northwest Herald, I believe, the closest paper I could find to having local circulation within the village. The Plan Commission has the notices. It has drafts of the proposed text amendment and the amendment to the special use. And the applicant has submitted a zoning application in which they have provided a narrative of about 3 or 4 pages, which describes their operation, their purpose, what they intend. And the burden is on the applicant now to present its request and why this would be beneficial to the village and what they would like to do. So In a matter such as this, those who are presenting evidence or testifying are supposed to be testifying under oath. I'm not going to ask you all to stand up since we're sitting here, but if anyone wants to provide a testimony either for or against the request tonight, I could ask Chairman Brightcoff to read the prescribed oath and ask you all in your own way to say "I do" as best you can. Do you have that handy, Lori?
I do not.
How about if I say it and then we'll say it's coming from the chair. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence you give to the Plan Commission in this hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If everyone who is testifying could please say "I do," we would appreciate it.
I do.
I do.
Okay. With that said, from the applicant, who wants to go first, please introduce yourself and you have the floor.
Is it for me?
No, this is for the applicant. The applicant is going to present their case first.
Hello, my name is Tony Meston. I work at Excel Entertainment, and I'm here with Tom Peckich and Mike Solomon. They are the owners of Baby Vegas Cafe. What I'd like to do right now is give you a very brief overview, which I was asked to do, of what they're going to do, as well as what our company does. It's only a 4-page document. So I will try to share my screen. I'm going to try to share this. Okay, host participant screen sharing. Okay. So then I'm gonna do.
Here we go.
Can you see my screen?
Just 1 second.
Can you spell, Tony, I have the spelling of your name, but can you spell Tom and the owner's names, please?
Yeah, it's Thomas, Thomas, last name is Pekic. P is in Paul, E-K-I-C is in cat.
And I'm Mike, or Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L, Somen, S-O-M-E-N.
Thank you.
Okay, can everyone see the screen?
I think we are working on it.
Okay, because we've shared it.
Oh,
Mhm.
right there.
We'll be there in a moment. You know, just hit the share screen.
That's just your regular.
It's the camera. And it
No,
means
no,
it's
no,
on
your line.
this. That's what it is.
Right.
Oh, no. I have-
You did share, right?
Mhm.
No.
They should see the whole screen.
We're just having a few,
We have a
I-
little bit of a technical thing going on here. We are screen sharing. It says we're screen sharing.
It says we are.
Because we're viewing Lori's screen on the top, so it should let you guys do that.
Hey guys, sorry to jump in, but I've had this issue a number of times. It looks like the host settings are that only the host can screen share. None of the other participants can screen share. So that could be what's going on.
I just changed it. Did that do anything?
But they've already done it, so you need to undo it and then try again.
You stop share and then you go back in.
Okay. Thank you. Did it work? No?
Good to
Stop.
see my,
No,
It's still viewing Lori's screen. I think you need to stop sharing Lori's screen and then let the other participants.
okay, I know what's happening. Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Is it doing it now?
No, it stopped doing it now. So I think if the applicant, Mr. Meston, if he tries to share his screen now, it should work.
Okay. I'm sorry.
So I'll try to share it again, and host disabled participant screen sharing, okay.
Yeah, it needs to know.
Yeah, okay. So then the host has to go into the preferences in their Zoom settings and allow other participants to participate in screen sharing.
I haven't checked.
Where do I do this?
That's not you.
It's not me.
No.
The host has to do it. Okay.
Yeah, there's, are we on a Macintosh or a PC?
PC.
PC. Okay, under the settings tab, there's a bunch of tabs on the left. They read general, video, audio, share screen. And under that share screen tab,
Well, we
There's
can
a-
see it.
Well, now we're seeing a screen, but I don't know whose screen this is.
That's not mine.
Whose is that?
It's a William
Oh, William Loft.
Loss.
Hi there. How are
Oh,
you?
hi.
Hi, William.
Well, we don't want to see your screen, Mr.
No, we don't need
Loss.
to see it.
So
Uh,
it
Well, I
worked.
don't want to see yours either.
Whatever I did, it worked. We can see screens.
But it's not the right.
so if Mr. Loth withdraws his screen share, then the applicant should be able to share theirs.
You know, whoever arranges meeting should know what should be done.
Oh, I'm doing the best I can, sir.
It's not letting me share my screen while the other participant
Right,
is
he needs
sharing.
to stop sharing.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
Okay, now we're back. Oh, no.
We're not.
No, William Loth needs to unshare,
Okay,
please.
I'm working.
No, it's all right. This is,
Do it from the bottom menu, from the share screen on the bottom.
oh, there we go. Okay, so now,
No one touch it.
don't touch
I
it anyway.
didn't touch.
Let him, no, Tony, you try again now.
okay, I'll try again. Okay, right there. Okay, and I hit.
Does this tell me I'm muted right now?
No, I don't believe so.
Click on that.
Yeah, hit that.
Right here.
Click on that, yeah. I'll hit share.
Okay, how's that?
There we go.
Nice.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yay.
Thank
can you see the whole thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. Basically,
Thank you, Tim.
thank you very much. Okay, basically, this is just who we are, and I spoke briefly at the last meeting of who we are, but we're the largest operator in Illinois, and basically, we're focused on independent gaming parlors. We have the partner of 18 gaming parlor chains in Illinois, and we're the largest provider, not only in the United States and Illinois, of video gaming, but also we're the leader with independent gaming parlors, which of course, Baby Vegas Cafe Riverwoods would be an independent gaming parlor. Over the last 7 months, just so everyone knows, we've grown our business more than any other terminal operator in Illinois. So I just wanted to take you through that. And let's see, why isn't it letting me go down? I gotta go to the next slide.
Skip.
What the heck?
Use your arrow.
Okay, there we go. I'm seeing you guys on one side the way it's shared. I apologize. Okay, very quickly, we were built on local partnerships. We have 23% of all the parlors in the state. And again, our focus is independent gaming parlors when we deal with independent gaming parlors in general. And again, we've grown our business 4% over the last 7 months, which is the higher than any other terminal operator in Illinois. Next page. Okay, I'm getting to the good stuff. We've grown everything through local partners and local investments. We've expanded our facilities. 5 years ago, we were only in Burr Ridge and Collinsville. Now, Rockford, LaSalle, Tinley Park, throughout the state. Those are major facilities that hold major assets. The location that we are talking about right now will have zero outsourced service. They will have nothing will be outsourced. Everything will be handled by us, whether it be collections, whether it be legal, whether it be relationship management. And this location will have a dedicated local relationship manager to manage day-to-day operations. Now, why is that important? Everything that has to be done legally, we will do this for them. It's almost like us taking the gaming out of their hands. We make sure they could work with us on building their gaming, but also on the legal end, on the marketing end, on the promotional end, we handle that for them. Okay, Baby Vegas. This establishment that's currently in Hoffman Estates, it outperforms all other parlors in the municipality. And it also outperformed the statewide average in growth in gaming parlors. As you could see, I've put up here the numbers from the Illinois Gaming Board after accruals. Baby Vegas Cafe currently over the current year, their funds in is averaging $297,000 per month. And that is a year-over-year difference of almost $100,000, $99,000. With Shelby's, Elsa's, and Anna's Cafe, Baby Vegas is basically the market leader. When we looked at River Woods, we specifically vetted and targeted which one of our current partners we would choose to enter this space. It's a phenomenal village, it's a phenomenal area, and we vetted Baby Vegas Cafe to ask them if they'd like to grow their business. Like I said before, we have more customers than anybody in the state of Illinois, and this is who we vetted. We feel with this partner, you'll be getting the best gaming experience and also an experienced partner in running the premier cafe in Hoffman Estates. In regards to Riverwoods, what we've done is looked at the last 3 years of municipality share on picking the municipality that most closely associates with Riverwoods. We've taken everything north of I-88 and east of Route 53. We've come up with Algonquin, Bartlett, Wheeling, and Oak Brook Terrace. Right now, Terrace, and pre-COVID, in regards to these 4 municipalities, they had a higher municipality share than Algonquin, Bartlett, or Wheeling. $303,000 went to the municipality with only 14 locations. Now, that's a pretty strong number considering they have less locations and their population is very small, but it's very affluent. If we take these numbers and compare them to what Baby Vegas does in Hoffman Estates, you'll see a very stark contrast. We take the 303,000, we divide it by the 14 locations. That averages $21,000 per location that Oak Brook Terrace received in 2019. What we derived from actual numbers of all data qualifiers that was recorded by the Illinois Gaming Board, Baby Vegas in Riverwoods, that location alone will give your area $43,000 to $49,000 of benefit. That's just one location, and that's based on everything that has been posted in Hoffman Estates. I can't stress enough the ownership of Baby Vegas Cafe and how they run their business and what they're doing right now in Hoffman Estates is absolutely exceptional. And what I predict is the revenue that they're currently doing in Hoffman Estates, they will probably grow by 30% in Riverwoods. Case in point, less than a mile away in unincorporated Lake County, there's Cafe Mystico. Cafe Mystico right now has about $183,000 in funds in. We expect Baby Vegas to double that number. Also, less than a half mile away is Betty's Cafe. It's a large conglomerate, a large chain. They're bringing in $462,000 a month in funds in. We expect once Baby Vegas opens up, that half that business will go to Riverwoods. So the $43,000 to $49,000 that I'm talking about, that has been reported in Hoffman Estates, I expect that number to be much higher for this location. I want it to be brief, but if anyone has any questions in regards to Excel, Baby Vegas Cafe, and what our plans are for the future, please ask me any question you'd like. Thank you.
Tony, before you finish off, would you just run through some of the information in the narrative statement? The Plan Commission has it, but I think you should explain the operations, hours of operation, number of terminals, all the information that's there. At least summarize it, because a lot of people here who haven't had the benefit of seeing that.
Okay, the number of terminals would be 6. The state of Illinois, so everybody knows, only allows a total of 6 terminals. However, if you're what's called a super truck stop, you could have 10. I just want to be clear on that. A super truck stop means that you provide 20,000 gallons of diesel fuel per month, and you're within 1 mile of an interstate, which we are not. We are a regular gaming cafe, which will serve and pour alcohol, and we will use 6 video gaming terminals, until the state changes the rule. But that's what we will do. As far as the hours, we would use normal hours a liquor license provides. On average, if I look at everything in Northern Illinois, it's anywhere from 6 a.m. in the morning to 9 a.m. in the morning, and then anywhere to 2 a.m. And every municipality has a different rule on Saturdays, where some people let you stay open until 3 or 4 on Saturdays, but on average it's 2 a.m. And then on Sundays, a lot of municipalities allow people not to open as early. They might say you have to open at 10 a.m. or 11, something like that. So that's what we would look at, a standard license of 9 a.m. till 1 a.m. and then, or midnight, and then 6 video gaming terminals.
Does anyone else, Tony, do you want to introduce the 2 people who would be, is this a franchise type relationship? They're independent, they have a relationship with Accel?
Yes, I'll introduce Mike and Tom. They're an independent group. It's just 2 guys, and they own Baby Vegas Cafe, which is very successful. They're an Excel customer. Okay, and like I said before, we vetted them of all the customers we have, because we felt that the way they ran their cafe in Hoffman Estates, and by the way, it's extremely successful, but it's not the biggest cafe we have. It isn't, by no means. But the way they run their business, the cleanliness of their business, the courtesy that they run their business with, and how they promote their business, we felt it would be a great partner for Riverwoods. And I'm taking that precisely, comparing that to Oak Brook Terrace. Because if I ever had an opening there, I would use this same group, these 2 men, to deal in Oak Brook Terrace as well. I think it's a perfect fit. But they are independent. They're not a corporation. They're just 2 men.
Well,
Now, if you'd like-
the application material says the applicant is MT Enterprises, Inc., which is a to-be-formed Illinois corporation. So they are forming a corporation to operate.
Yeah, they are forming a corporation. However, I was referring to a major chain, a Betty's, a Stella's, Blackhawk Gaming, basically, that does nothing but run chains that you see on the street. Penny's, Betty's, Molly's, stuff like that. These guys are just an independent who are, of course, they're forming a corporation for tax purposes.
There's other material in the narrative statement. I won't be the one to try and draw all of that out from you. Chairman Brykhoff, do you want to go around the Plan Commission and let them ask questions? Do you have other material to present? I saw your counsel there as well. Is there anything else that you would like to present now?
Our counsel, Tim, is there, and you could meet Mike and Tom. They're here next to me if you want to see them as well. Okay, come on in, Tommy.
Hello, I'm Mike, and that's Tom.
And that's Tom. I'm Tony. And then our attorney is here as well.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to present at this moment on your behalf?
I mean, I can say just a little bit of background as far as the gaming. Like I worked as a marketing manager for a group of sports bars, and then they got into the venture of opening a gaming cafe, and they're starting to grow as well. They're based out of Niles, now Lake Zurich, in different suburbs throughout northern Illinois. And Excel originally approached myself, so I'm Tom Peckick. They approached myself as far as what would you want to do on your own. So I wanted to go more into a boutique customer service base, not so much about the numbers, but to have something different for a neighborhood. And Hoffman Estates was one of those suburbs I looked at, and it's been a great success so far. Mike and I now have joined. Mike's actually, his background is in construction, so it's a perfect team. He builds it, and I handle like the marketing and everything else. It's been great. Our average demographic is the major demographic is 45 to 75-year-old women. We don't have any issues. We've never had any issues as far as over serving. All of our staff is, of course, trained, Bassett certified. We go through a rigorous interview, a 2-week training process, so to make sure that every guest, we don't even call them customers, every guest has the best experience possible. It's not always about the dollar, it's about that customer experience that I personally have pushed for. And that's kind of why Mike has jumped on board. And I think that's reflected to Excel, which I was honored when they called me, believe it or not. There's a lot of companies out there, and to be that one they called, it meant a lot. And I'm familiar with Riverwoods. I myself live in Park Ridge. So, I know what it is to make sure that you keep your village, at a respectable level at all times.
Do you want to stop screen sharing at this moment, and then we can go
Of
back
course.
to
Sure.
regular gallery?
Okay. There we go. Oh, there it is.
All right, so for all of you who are joining and maybe anxious to say things, what we normally do is try and let the plan commissioners ask their questions of the applicant. And then we'll invite comments from all of you who may want to address the plan commission. Because of this awkward nature that we're in, we see most of you, your names come up on the screen. So probably the best thing would be is once we get through the plan commissioner's questions, then Lori can recognize you by asking you, she'll just look at the name and ask if you want to address the plan commission. And that way we can make sure everyone who wants to will have an opportunity to address the plan commission. And then it'll probably come back to the plan commission for some more questions. Obviously, at some point, if there's no more testimony and the questions aren't, providing any further information that the plan commission needs, at some point, they'll move to close the hearing unless it's not ready to close. And then the plan commission can debate the merits of the questions before it. So plan commissioners, this is your time.
Steve?
Yeah, first of all, welcome. I'm just a little curious. I'm having a hard time trying to digest culturally what one of these places does, if this fits in our neighborhood, literally, I mean, you've seen what there is around here, and I'm not quite sure, like, you know, if you talk about gaming that goes from early in the morning till late at night, alcohol, it paints a picture. So I'm just curious if you can give me a little description about the culture of the game. Is it people who live in Riverwoods who will be doing it? Is it people who are from other areas? You know, I mean, what are the busy times? I just want to know what are we supposed to be digesting from this proposal?
Okay.
You're muted.
as far-
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for the question. As far as the people who are going to be playing, they will be people from Riverwoods. There's going to be people who live in Deerfield as well, and unincorporated parts of Lake County. Less than a mile away, they're at Betty's Cafe and Cafe Mystical. As far as the demographic, as Tom spoke before, his demographic's really good. And this is all tracked through Excel, okay? We share that information with him. As regards to people, when they come into a location, they're able to put their email and information. They do it once, and every time they come back in, they do it again. They put it into a little iPad. The demographic that Tom and Mike have is 45 to 75-year-old women. On an average across the state for a gaming parlor, it's about 55 and up is the number one demographic of women. So to answer your question, what we foresee at Excel, and Tommy could elaborate if you'd like to, we foresee that the majority of customers that you will have will be women. Probably 60% will be women. As far as the men are concerned, this is not a tavern. We just have to serve alcohol for the license. They'll be retirees. Most of the men who go into a gaming parlor are retirees, or they're over the age of 50. That's the demographic across the state. Tommy?
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to touch on, I mean, legally, the state the Gaming Act is built into the liquor law. So that is pretty much what allows us to base our hours. So what would happen is, like, a state gaming rep would come in and say, all right, your liquor hours are, example, like I have 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. across the board. The amount of sales in liquor is so minuscule. I mean, we average less than $3,000 an entire month in liquor sales. And it actually includes liquor and possible items to go, like sodas to go, whatnot. So it's the drinking is not a factor. And that's why I got into this, because it wasn't the whole big sports bar, you know, worrying about issues, you know, fights and over serving. It's an occasional glass of wine, you know, it's an occasional beer, 2 beers. You're not doing, you know, tons of shots and stuff like that. They go there for the gaming. Like Tony had mentioned, we got a lot of retirees. I've built a lot of great relationships. My wife and I actually work in Hoffman Estates at that place, and we've built great relationships with people from the area. But till this day, we've been open now 2 years, and we have, knock on wood, haven't had any issue to even think about. So, you know, and I wouldn't want my wife to work in a place that wasn't safe. They come in, people are, you know, usually happy, come in for anywhere from half an hour to 2 hours, play a little bit, like a girls' night out, or a couple guys after golf. I see that a lot, like on a Saturday or Sunday. They play a little bit, and then they go on to dinner and go home.
There is one other aspect of it. I forgot. There's a hotel nearby. Some of the people who go to the hotel will go there. They're not going to travel far. A lot of them don't have a rental car. They took a shuttle from the airport. Now, why am I saying this? Not because the hotel is there, because it almost mirrors what goes on in Oak Brook Terrace. Within a quarter mile of any Oak Brook Terrace location, there are hotels. So because the hotel is close, you're also going to see some people from the hotel who aren't going to drive around. They're just going to kill some time, and they're probably going to go in to Baby Vegas.
Steve, do you have any follow-up questions?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other commissioner have any questions? Carl?
Yeah, as far as enforcement actions, does the gaming board have any compliance checks or enforcement? Or will that responsibility fall on our police department?
This is what is going to happen. If we move forward, if you approve us, we're going to go through a gaming application process. That process is vetted, it goes through the state of Illinois, it goes through the Department of Justice. After that inspection is done and the location is approved after vetting, usually within 3 to 6 months after the location goes live, they're going to be inspected by the state of Illinois, but they're not going to be announced. And every year they're going to be inspected. They're only going to takes place after they pass it. State of Illinois is going to have an agent who's going to go in unannounced. Also, there might be 2 or 3 people with them. What they're going to do is, I know this because I've been doing this for a while, they're going to try to have someone who looks older than they are play a game without being asked for an ID. Someone who looks older than they are is going to sit at the bar and say, can I have a bottle of Old Style? That type of thing is going to go on. Also, the state's going to inspect without anybody knowing it, whether all the licenses are up to date, as well as do vetting to make sure all taxes and everything else is paid. Because you have to understand, they're also selling alcohol. So they have to watch, and we watch that for them at Excel. They have to worry about the Department of Justice, statutes with the state of Illinois, precisely the Illinois Gaming Board, their liquor license for the state of Illinois, their local liquor license, and all the health ordinances that you put upon them. So the police department is not going to be the one, I've never seen it happen. The police department doesn't do oversight for gaming in the state of Illinois. I hope that answered your question, Carl.
Yeah, it did pretty much. Just as a follow-up, have there been any interactions with the police at the Hoffman Estates facility?
Any interaction? No. I personally was checked by a state officer. He walked in with someone actually who was underage just to make sure that we are, IDing everybody properly. So that person never made it 10 feet inside the door. I asked for ID. It was, an underage ID, and then they came out of the woodwork and they're like, congratulations, you did a great job. So I mean, to get at it, I mean, like Tony mentioned, we're not a big company. So this business means a lot to Michael and myself. So we don't want to do anything, and I never would do anything to risk, losing my license or growing this business, which has become, a pretty good success. We haven't had any problems at Hoffman Estates, thank God. But, again, like at night, we close at 1 o'clock. Our lights actually are kept on, all night. We never have any issues. As far as that one incident, I mean, we haven't had anything. Nothing.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Carrie?
Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate that and hearing what you're telling us. I just have a couple questions. So when you talk about the hours, you said that it's open till 1 a.m. in the morning. Is that what I heard correctly? Okay. Are all the locations open the same time? Is that across?
It varies by municipality, but
Okay.
if I look at the average across, say, Cook, Lake, and DuPage, normal closing, with the exception of Saturdays and Sundays, is around 1 in the morning. Now, normal opening is 8 or 9. I have a lot of locations that open, and I've been doing this a long time, it open at 6 and 7 in the morning. So I'm just giving you a basic average. Lake, DuPage, and Cook, 9 a.m. in the morning till about 1 a.m. midnight in the evening.
Now,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
to touch on what Tony just said, our business, if I could pick and choose, like the 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock, it's basically based on people's schedules. So usually in the morning, you get more seniors that come in, you know, they have a routine, they like to get a machine early. And then you have like the middle of the day, right? And then there's shifts, and some people end at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, their job, and they like to come out, relax, have a drink, play a little bit. I'll tell you right now, I have the option in Hoffman Estates to pay for a 3 o'clock license. I choose not to, because I just feel that that's just not an element that I need or nor want. You know, I want it to be consistent. I don't need someone walking in at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, you know, to be overserved somewhere else. Not that we would ever do it, but for someone else to overserve somebody, and, you know, and like I said, in a sports bar or nightclub, I don't need them coming to us. And like Bruce mentioned, or Tony mentioned earlier, that our numbers, you know, we're in the top in Hoffman Estates. The 3 that are always around, us top 4, they all have 3 o'clock licensing.
Okay.
So they're paying for extra payroll and extra hours, and I just feel we don't need that.
When I think of the demographics of Riverwoods, I'm trying to think, do we have anything open really late at 1 a.m. in the morning right now? I'm just throwing it out there.
Nothing that I know of.
Nothing. Okay. Okay.
Can I
And then,
add,
oh, go ahead.
I just checked, the 2 that they mentioned, Betty's Cafe and Cafe Mystico, which are just across the street and down the block a bit, are both open to 1 a.m.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Thank you.
And then when I think about it, I would think that your demographics, if it was in Riverwoods, right where we're talking, you would get Wheeling, Buffalo Grove, because they're so close to each other. People coming from there, I would think. Maybe and because you mentioned Deerfield, you think Deerfield, a lot of people would come from Deerfield, probably. You were saying that.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes, that'll be the majority.
if you like a business, I'm gonna tell you right now, I shop at Woodman's right across the street, and I live in Park Ridge, so that's a haul.
Okay. Okay.
But I like the area. I wish, you know,
Sure,
so.
sure,
you know,
sure.
Like I've always, you know, I've always liked Riverwoods. That area is just a nice, Buffalo Grove, Riverwoods, it's always been a beautiful area. So I'd be embarrassed to put anything subpar in your village.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Steve?
Yeah, I just want to follow up a little bit, like on the cultural thing. Again, I've been living in Riverwoods a long time, over 30 years, and I'm not sure, you know, how come. I mean, what else is in Riverwoods? Is this a fit? Is this with the ideology of our villages to do this? I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting here kind of trying to digest it myself. You know, I mean, I don't know what else, you know, will be in that shopping center. And I don't know if it reflects on our village, or I'm very confused, frankly. I'm not sure, like, if there's a, you know, if it's not a demand from our village. I don't know. Am I the only one that thinks that way? I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know. I can't answer that question. I just wanted to follow up with a couple of other things just on my checklist, if that's okay, Lori.
Absolutely.
Just to clarify the legal relationship. So would you be able to function there if your agreement with Excel was terminated? Is that agreement that is renewable yearly? Is it for a stated term?
Our agreement, basically, it's for a term. However, if Baby Vegas Cafe wanted to stop gaming, we would just say, okay, you're done. They leave.
What would happen? I guess I'm asking, we're changing the zoning if your request was accepted to allow a video gaming parlor. This arrangement is the arrangement we're hearing about. What would happen in the future if your relationship went sour? What would that space be suitable for video? What would be the next evolution?
What basically happens is if Baby Vegas Cafe longer want to do gaming and they left the facility, okay, we'd say fine. Okay, they don't want gaming anymore. The only thing on them is if they opened up under that same auspices of the same corporation after they left us, we would basically say to the new terminal operator they signed with, okay, you'd have to give us some of the revenue. That's how it works, because we're telling them if they want to leave, they can leave. They just can't sign with anybody else or start gaming again, because we look at it like this: no harm, no foul. If they want to leave, they can leave. But if they leave just to work with another terminal operator, then we have recourse.
So you're what is called in the business a terminal operator.
We are a terminal operator, the largest in the country.
All right, and so this particular applicant is the lessee. They have the space. So if they leave you, they could go with another terminal operator. They may have to share some revenue with you, but otherwise they could still continue operating in the space if they left you.
Correct. Yes, you are correct.
Okay, and if they went out of business for whatever reason, you have no claim on the space. They're the lessee. So basically it just becomes empty space and someone else can come in and use it for one of the uses it shops. Am I
Yes, sir. Yes, Bruce.
understanding that? Okay, just to clarify for the Plan Commission, the village has not, I mean, we don't have a way independently, or we haven't been able yet to independently verify the numbers that are being presented. You'll have to ask further questions or be satisfied about what they represent in terms of revenue to the village. That revenue number is not based on license fees. That's based on, Tony, just want to be clear, that's
Sure.
based on what you estimate would be the village share of the gaming revenue per the state law.
Correct. What I've done, the numbers that I've given you, when I said the estimate on the bottom, that's taking Baby Vegas's numbers, actual numbers, and what the state of, what the Hoffman Estates received. And it's on the Illinois Gaming Board website.
Okay,
And when
just,
I took the other municipalities, we just took it from the Illinois Gaming Board website as far as revenue collected.
all right, just to be clear, everyone, so the formula for sharing gaming revenue is set by state law. The village's share is a percentage that we have no control over. The state audits the numbers. The state is the one that remits those proceeds to us, not the operator. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Right.
The operator gets paid last.
All right. The only thing that the village has control of in this process is that each of the terminals that are there's 6 terminals, can be licensed by the village. License fees range across the metropolitan area. The highest license fee I've read about that was upheld by a court was $1,500 per terminal. I don't know what the average rate of a license fee is for terminals that you've encountered.
Right, $1,500 is correct. However, on the other end of it, you have places that charge $25 to $50. It's all up to each municipality what they want to do. Some are $25 to $50, some are $500 to $1,000, or the extreme $1,500.
And like Hoffman Estates, it's $400 per machine per year.
Okay, just to clarify what those revenue streams are. Lori, at this point, it might be useful to try and go through members of our audience, our residents who want to address us.
Okay, that sounds good. Who would like to ask questions of the applicants? Ms. Schaefer, are you interested in asking a question?
Or making a statement?
I'd prefer to make a statement if that's
Sure.
acceptable.
Certainly.
Kind of the reason why I came. I do appreciate the opportunity to be heard. And no offense, gentlemen, I'm sure you run a great business. It sounds like the revenue is pretty nice. But I can't be more opposed to it for our community. It is, Mr. Huvard, to answer your question, it is not in the best interest to the village at all. It doesn't advance the public welfare. The mere suggestion of allowing this type of business and other types of businesses that are, lumped into this category to be selected to come to Riverwoods is, in my opinion, ridiculous. I feel that this area on the west side is still mere steps from many homes. Our Riverwood website states in Just to paraphrase a little bit, we have the largest collection of private residences in a woodlands preservation setting anywhere on the North Shore. Pair that with miles of bike paths, woods packed with 100-year-old trees, a rich natural environment on the ground below, and you'll see why there's nothing like it anywhere. The words privacy, simplicity, our residents protect it and cherish it. Again, all a mere few steps from our homes would be a gambling area, gaming, sorry, because of the traffic, the noise, the crazy hours. Yeah, we don't have any businesses that are open that late. We don't allow country clubs to be open that late, thank goodness. People are constantly calling the police because of the noise from the country clubs, and that's just a celebration. The elements that come with these types of businesses, I appreciate hearing the demographic of 45 to 5-year-old women, but that's an average. And I'm not clear if those demographics would be reflective to our situation. That's a hearsay. This is not what Riverwoods is about. Not even on the west side of the town. We don't need this, nor do we want it. Please do not allow this type of business, a truck stop, a drug paraphernalia shop, a proposal for a shooting range. For goodness sakes, people, this is Riverwoods. This is a community of people who moved here for that reason, not for a casino, not for guns, not for drugs, but to appreciate the environment. It's not a good fit. So I thank you for letting me be heard. And again, I apologize, gentlemen. You did give a nice presentation. I have the utmost respect for you, but this is just not suitable for our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments or statements or questions? Howard?
Yes, I agree 100% with Ms. Schaefer. What makes you think that there is a customer base here in Riverwoods? With nothing to disrespect the other communities that you have locations in, Algonquin or Bartlett or even Wheeling, where we in Deerfield and Lincolnshire are not those communities. The late hours, the potential impact on the community and perhaps crime rates or housing values. This is not what we live here for. You mentioned about the demographic of 45 to 7-year-old women. They're going to be playing, but I can't picture them playing at 1 a.m. at that time. This is just something that's doesn't fit here. Your revenue numbers, when you're saying about the projected revenue that would come in, is based on what's happened in Hoffman Estates, which is not us either. So I'm not in favor of this project. Nothing against you guys, it's fine, but this is just one of those things that doesn't fit in our community.
If you Google Riverwood, you don't want to see that they have a.
Howard, would you like me to, you had a question on the demand. Would you like me to answer that? The demand for the, okay, because you said you weren't sure about the demand. Betty's Cafe, which is about a 1/4 mile away, they currently bring in per month, just on dollar slots alone, $462,000. And currently, like Baby Vegas, how good they do, they bring in about $250,000 per month. So between Betty's Cafe and Cafe Mystico, you're talking about $600,000 a month that people actually put into the video slot machine. So that's just so everybody's clear. That's how we calculated the demand, which is about a 1/4 mile away from the current location we're discussing. Thank you.
Thank you. Howard, do you have any further questions?
Not at this time, but maybe later.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to make a comment or ask questions? William? You're on mute.
Muted.
Yeah, I appreciate your presentation and I've been involved in businesses before and it's, no, it sounds, you're very optimistic about this and I really appreciate that. I agree with, in many respects, with all the previous discussants, particularly Steve Levine. I've lived here since, actually, we built our house here the year the Bears won the Super Bowl. So you can figure that one out. But I moved here for a real culture. I couldn't believe this place when I moved here. This is exactly my heaven. It was like my vacation home and my permanent home forever. And Riverwoods is I think there's a mindset here that it's really a cultural place. And I don't get me wrong. It's not that I'm against gaming or anything like that, but I think there's something other than Riverwoods that maybe you're considering. I mean, I understand the traffic on Milwaukee Avenue and I understand how business is important to you, but I don't think people are going to drive from Deerfield 2.5 miles away or Highland Park that's 7 miles away to come to a gaming place on the other side of Riverwoods. It just, what I want to know is what is the cultural advantage that you bring to our community that will make us feel more like the way we want to feel in this community. We like trees, we like silence, we like isolation in a sense. We like, I would love to have a park or something on that corner that when you enter, you're visiting the national forest of Riverwoods and all the nature that comes with it. I mean, we've got a river, it's Riverwoods. It's just not that kind of place. And I'm just wondering what you're really offering us. I know what you're offering yourselves, and I appreciate that. And don't get me wrong, I want you to be successful. I just don't think that there's something you're going to bring to our community that's going to make us feel excited about having it. This is not the first time we've had an opportunity to talk about what we want on that corner, but I just I think this feeling is fairly unanimous in this community, and I'd like to know really why you think Riverwoods there's an advantage to Riverwoods having this as opposed to some other community, and what you bring to us rather than what you bring to those who are west of us or on Milwaukee Avenue.
I appreciate your question. I really do. I understand it. You built your house here in 1985, and I get it. As far as what culture we're bringing here, I mean, I don't know how to answer that, because what we're basically doing is we're taking a space that was vacant for 3 years in a strip mall on a very busy street. And all we're saying is we'd like to rent that place out to provide gaming. There is a demand, as I just said, a quarter mile away, over $600,000 is put in the machines on a monthly basis at 2 locations. So the cultural thing, or about rivers or trees, this is about us taking a spot and providing a safe environment. This is not, there's a stigma. Is it dangerous? I've been doing this a long time. I've had one place that had a robbery. It was in Melrose Park. Totally different demographic, but that was one place in 5 years.
Where I'm from.
Yeah, it was in Melrose Park. And by the way, no one got away with anything. They were actually caught. They didn't take a dime. But we just want to, we don't think there's going to be noise. It's on a busy, these are not rowdy people. This isn't going to be, a party time, Rush Street. The alcohol sales alone, I doubt if this place, and I'll probably bet anybody, that not a case of beer will be sold every 2 weeks. Hard liquor at a minimum. People are just there to game. I don't think it's going to be noisy. I think it's a busy street. I know it's a busy street. And, but to answer your question, as far as the culture is concerned, or the rivers or the woods or the arts, it's not like that. We looked at a spot that's been vacant for 3 years and we thought it would be an excellent location because you're a half mile away from two places that are very, very successful. I hope I answered your question, William. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Howard, you have a follow-up question?
I do. I'm going to let Laura
No,
speak.
it's me because
Hi, Laura.
I didn't want to speak, but I'm so aggravated listening to this that I can't take it. Okay. So first of all, I don't know anybody in Riverwoods, Lincolnshire, Deerfield, or Highland Park that's coming to do gaming. Okay. I think I'm a pretty good representative of our community and the people that live in the surrounding areas. Okay. As I do work over in Lincolnshire, I don't see a big group of people running to game. Okay. Second of all, there's school buses that go down Deerfield Road and pass that corner all the time. And if you think I want kids, whether they're small or teenagers or even in their 20s, asking, oh, what is that place over there? And it's video gaming, a way that you can lose money as we make money in Riverwoods. How sad that that's what we're telling our children. Hey, look what you can do. Make some money and you can go video game and maybe you'll get rich and maybe you'll lose money. I also think it's pathetic that we're targeting seniors like, oh my gosh, okay, I am 62 years old. And guess what? I don't have some extra cash. If that's who we're targeting, some type of an addictive gaming thing in the neighborhood, that's so sad that we're going to try and draw money from seniors. Very, very sad. So, I mean, honestly, I get it. You guys can make a lot of money off of that and the village can make a lot of money off of that. But honestly, it is just so sad to think that that corner is going to represent Riverwoods.
Okay, I understand your question. And we're not trying to basically change elderly women's habits or retirees. We feel there's a demand for that because there is.
That's what's naturally evolved.
It's naturally evolved into it. We don't put a gun to anybody's heads. If they're older and they like to, I'm 59 and I enjoy gambling, but I just can't play any slot machine in Illinois. But as far as the demand is concerned, as I said again, a quarter mile away, I don't know where they come from, but Betty's Cafe and Cafe Mystico, over $600,000 every month is put through those machines. So there is a demand wherever they live. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I know where they come from.
Here's where they come from. It's a big Russian community that goes to Cafe Mystico. Okay, that's where they come from. Also, the late night, let me just tell you, as I worked in a very dangerous neighborhood recently, what happens usually is you might not have crime within that specific location of your gaming facility. But what you will have is these people that maybe they didn't make any money there will come down the streets looking for an unopened car. They'll be around looking to take advantage of the situation in the area. So unless you have any proof that crime within the area has not increased, and that would be things like car theft. It would be things that people got robbed. Okay, I don't know if you have any information, maybe not right there at that facility, but in the area at that late night, I'd like to see some information that did not increase. But I don't care about Tinley Park, first of all, because Tinley Park ain't Riverwoods, okay? It ain't even close to Riverwoods, and either is any of the other communities that you mentioned. Maybe possibly Oak Brook Terrace, don't know, don't care, because I don't know where it is located in Oak Brook Terrace, but don't compare me to Tinley Park, okay? Because we ain't Tinley Park, okay? We're not Wheeling either.
But I never compared you to Tinley Park ever. When I mentioned Oak Brook Terrace, when I first met Bruce and the mayor, they wanted a demographic of what Riverwoods would look like to a village that had live gaming. So that's why we picked those just on a strict data analysis based on demographics. But I never mentioned Tinley Park. As far as your question about crime and what it brings and wherever you work, I mean, I grew up in Gage Park. I went to high school in West Inglewood. I live in the suburbs right next to Oak Brook right now. I can't give you that crime, but I know what real crime is. I do. I've seen a lot of it. And all I'm saying is I don't foresee anything happening in Riverwoods. I don't see this as a dangerous thing, but I can't give you a crime statistic. I apologize. I just can't. I hope I answered your question. I'm sorry.
I believe Douglas.
Thank you, Laura. Does anybody else have any questions, or Douglas?
Okay, so I'm not prepared for this meeting. I only found out about it a half hour before it happened. I've never really gambled. I've been to Vegas and lost $1 in a slot machine because it broke just for fun. I'm never going to go to this place, but I don't really care. The village could use the money. The money that would come in from this would help get the other things people want. It's on Milwaukee Avenue. There's stuff just down the street. There's 2 of these. There used to be another one. So I'm actually more concerned you're going to go out of business because there actually isn't as much as you think is going to be there. There was a pizza place. Now, maybe I went there. I liked the pizza. And occasionally I saw people actually gambling, but I don't really think there's that much going on there. But other people are there. I don't care who they are. If they want to go gambling, I'd rather make money off it than not. I'd rather the strip mall had stores in it than be empty. And somebody mentioned shooting range. Well, I'm not for a shooting range, but this isn't about a shooting range. The email I saw actually talked about a gas station. I'm more worked up about a gas station than this, but I think it's silly to think that whatever's going on in Milwaukee Avenue has anything to do with what's going on in Riverwoods, because it doesn't. It's Milwaukee Avenue. And the fact that the strip mall has got a bunch of empty spots in it is not a good thing for Riverwoods. It's not a good site. It's not good for crime there either to have nothing, things that are empty. I was more annoyed with the liquor store that was there than I would be with this. So I think it's much ado about nothing in terms of that. I feel like, the biggest problem I have is with the name, because I had no idea that Betty's Cafe was a place where people go to gamble. I had no idea that Cafe Mystico is a place where people go to gamble. It was a restaurant, okay, that also has this stuff. It's open till 1 a.m., but it actually opens at 11 a.m. The other one actually does open at 7 a.m. That seems like a more hardcore gambling thing. The name Baby Vegas is more troubling to what I feel people, in Riverwoods than actually what's going on in the store. But other than that, I just think that it's that this is a means to fill a spot in a strip mall that's embarrassingly empty, and could bring people in and maybe bring other stores in and maybe revitalize that part of the community, which is barely in any of the other part of the community. And I've been here 25 years. I've seen changes and all that. And I don't think that has anything to do with where I live, other than possibly providing some more funds to get some of the other stuff that we actually want done in the rest of the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Are there any other questions or comments or statements? Yes.
Hi, this is Matt Eisenstein. I live in Meadow Lake, which backs up to the shops of Riverwoods. First of all, I'd like to say that I don't want to be repetitive, so I basically agree with the neighbors that oppose this facility. But I do have some additional concerns. When the Estonia House was having late night activities, we had a lot of noise. And even if the noise wasn't in the sense of revelers, it was car alarms going off in the middle of the night. It was horns beeping. It was people talking loudly. Noise carries far. We have a quiet community, and we really didn't appreciate that kind of activity. And when the village and the county curbed their hours to shutting down by 10 o'clock, it certainly made a major improvement in our quality of life. And I think that having something open all hours of the evening, besides all the other problems, will significantly affect the people who live up against that facility in our neighborhood.
Can I speak on that?
Thank you, Matt.
Yes, Matt, as far as, thank you for your time. I appreciate, by the way, all of you coming in, like I said earlier, I want to be part of a community. So to speak on, like, for example, Hoffman Estates right now, when we first opened, yes, it's not River Woods, but it's got tons of trails and woods, and it's probably twice the size of the suburb I thought it was when I moved in there. But it's got, lakes and trails and all that stuff that families can take part in. And I really kind of want to take away from calling this like a gaming facility. At the end of the day, we're an entertainment vessel. The average customer stays about an hour, hour and a half, right? So if a person goes to a movie, it's an hour, hour and a half. We don't ask how they choose. And now all these movie theaters are opening with alcohol. I'm not there to sell the alcohol. We're a vessel for you guys to come in, get a break, play, and be on your way. We don't have any sound. I use the smallest speaker. It's literally this big. We don't have a big sound system. We don't have DJs or anything like that. It's real quiet. And it's actually based off of mid-century Las Vegas. And all I hear are the best amazing stories about Las Vegas and people's trips that are usually in those 40s, 50s, 60s. They come in, they get to see all the different artwork and photos of Elvis and Frank Sinatra and whatnot. And it's an experience. And at the end of the day, I don't want there to be loud yelling when people leave. In 2 years, haven't had it. Have not had it. I do know that, and I haven't talked with Tony about this yet, but one of our relationship managers did start finding some material for me about the effects with crime. And I know that the village of Palatine now is one of the new suburbs that are looking to opt in, and they wanted to see that. And I can get those numbers to you, but there's no difference in crime, based off of what I briefly read. And I don't want to quote anything, but I can send it over to Bruce and Bruce can share it with the team. Let you know that it's a safe environment. It's not, like I said before, it's not a big bar. At the end of the night, you might have 2-3 customers, sometimes not, if any. And I'm happy to close. Like if our license is, let's say, till midnight and we're dead at 11:30, we'll close. It's quiet. We leave. There's nothing there. And usually, like, especially if it's like a lady or something, we'll, keep the door open, make sure that, just out of politeness, make sure they get to their car correctly. Never had a problem. So, I invite any of you to please, if you want to call me and meet me at my current location and see what a wonderful place it is. I worked real hard on making it a real beautiful, Mike helped build it, and a beautiful location. So that's why I thought it would be a nice entertainment vessel for Riverwoods.
Just to clarify,
a couple of people have mentioned that there isn't much to do. So this is just something different outside of the outdoorsy stuff.
Tom, just to clarify, if there's 6 terminals, what is the average occupancy when the facility is busy?
When it's busy? So
Yeah, I
figure
mean,
it's one or 2 employees per shift. And then your 6 terminals and maybe 1-2 people tops waiting. So you're at 12 or less. So when the state of Illinois had us at a 50% occupancy, my occupancy is at 49. Don't even need that. And I was more than sufficient with 24. So you're never going to have more than 12 people. I don't think I've ever had more than that in the whole place. Like I just looked at my security cameras right now, and I've got 3 people playing. So it's not like, and they're all separate, and they don't know each other, and they mind their own business. They play some slots, they win, they're happy. Sometimes they lose, they come back. I just want something different for people, to enjoy.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or statements?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to add this. Just because the Riverwoods is new at this. By state of Illinois standard, there's a liquor license with the gaming. If we were to opt in, or if you were to opt in, you can keep it at a minimum of beer and wine, canned beverages, and we can eliminate spirits. We don't need it. So for example, in Hoffman Estates, I'm the only one who serves hard liquor because I have it like a nice scotch or something. And that's about it. We don't do shooters and stuff like that. So it's there, allows it, but it's not necessary. The state of Illinois only requires beer and wine as a minimum.
Lori, I see some hands raised, which I think is people wanting to make statements or address us.
Okay, I see Brian Moss and Lee Zeidman. So Brian, do you have statements or questions?
Oh yeah, I'm coming at this from a different perspective. Me and my wife moved our family here from the city just 2 years ago, and we live in the Meadow Lake development. And it's really sad to me that there's a meeting such as this with all due respect, guys, this is a video gaming thing. You guys are really trying to make this a little bit more glamorous than I think it really is. We moved out of the city specifically to get away from businesses such as this and some of the element that businesses like this draw. And so from my standpoint, whatever the revenue is not as important as safety aspects for my family and young children. And I know in Meadow Lake, which backs up to this complex, it is easily within walking distance. And my experience is that alcohol mixed with gambling tends to influences people's behavior, and people tend to make bad decisions. And there's a lot of younger kids and young families that live in Meadow Lake, which is directly backs up to this mall. And so I don't have any questions for you guys. This is just my comment.
I appreciate that, Brian. I just want to do one correction. I too grew up in the city, and like I said, currently I live in Park Ridge. And the one thing I want to mention is that gaming slot play is not technically allowed yet and not legal in the city of Chicago. So there wouldn't be any of those establishments there. But it's all the different suburbs and municipalities that have been opting in over the last several years. But I do appreciate your time.
Lee Zeidman.
Yes, thank you. So I guess comments and maybe questions will come from that. So first of all, I, like the gentleman earlier, am certainly a fan of revenue. This village obviously needs it. And our property taxes certainly show that. And so from my perspective, it's a value question. And, the PDF that you showed earlier showed some annual values towards the village. And I think looking from that perspective, unless I misread it, and it was tough, with the screen share, but unless I misread it, the question I have is whether or not, maybe it's rhetorical, the value to the village in accepting a gaming business like this is worth it, given what I'll call a fairly minor contribution to the village. I know that you made some comparisons in the beginning to places like Oak Brook Terrace. Oak Brook is probably a more accurate comparison based on per capita income and house values, but it's a value play. And if this village is going to vote and upset some of its residents, to me, it's got to consider what the value in doing that is. And again, I support business. We have a strip mall that needs business. And ultimately, I'm a fan of that. But I'm concerned about what you actually can generate in that location with the competitors that you've pointed out are that close by, and what the village ends up reaping as a benefit for that. And none of us have even really touched on any added cost or responsibility for the local police department having to patrol a little bit more, how that affects things, especially as Deerfield Road expands. So it's really a value concern I have in the contribution that the business would bring to the village. So I don't know if you have a general comment to what I've said, but that would be wonderful.
I understand, what you're saying as far as the contributions concerned. I mean, this is just one gaming parlor. If you had three, you're going to be probably at $130,000 to $200,000. I know this for a fact. I don't know everything, but I know a lot of municipalities use this gaming revenue for police, for schools, for infrastructure. It's just extra money. I don't run the village. I don't run a municipality, but I do know that each and every suburb in the Chicago area uses this money for good things. And how much you need, that's not for me to say. It's not for these guys to say. That's up to you. But I do know this. I understand gaming, and I do know that the places that are a quarter mile away, if this place didn't open, another place would open in unincorporated Lake County, and they grow because the growth is there. It's there, and whether people like it or not, there's a pent-up demand for this, and especially among retirees and people over a certain age. There's just a demand for it. I hope I answered your question.
No, I certainly do. And then the last comment that I'll make, and then I'm done, and the village can do what they're going to do, is that I appreciate the idea that it's only one small gaming storefront. That's a very good point. It's certainly something the village needs to consider, is whether or not the value is there, as you touched on as well, and I did. I just have an inherent concern when the contribution to the village, while I won't say that any amount of money is insignificant, you're really talking about the property tax equivalent of like 1.5 houses in certain areas of Riverwoods. And so that's something the village has to consider when it's considering whether having a storefront like this is worth it to this community. So having said that, I appreciate your time and your presentation, and I appreciate your responses.
Thank you, Lee.
You know, if I could just add, like, we're living in Park Ridge, and many of you know that it was a dry town for many, many years. Then they had a new board come in, a new mayor, and they've brought in some beautiful, tasteful restaurants with a little bit of alcohol. They've made it like a street by the metro where people can go and, with their families, restaurants, Irish pubs and whatnot. And it's been very well received. For example, my tax dollars, without fighting it, have gone down, for the last 2 years, about 40%. So I'm ecstatic. And it's been done tastefully. Like I said in the beginning, we have, and you can all choose what it's your village, you're residing there. I get that. But we just want to bring something tasteful to your town. Just like Park Ridge brought in Holtz and Pennywise, all these great little places. I mean, you've got 24-hour Woodman's across the street, but during the daytime, liquor is being sold out of there hand over fist. So we're not there to get people drunk or get people broke. It's just a little entertainment vessel for people to come in and out and have something different to do.
No, I appreciate that. And then as the one last comment to the village, I just want to be really clear, as a homeowner, I do not object to the type of business, whether or not it's the right location. That's for you guys to decide ultimately. So thank you all again.
Thank you, Lee.
Lee, I just, and maybe for the plan commission, since people have been sort of wondering about the relative contribution revenue wise, taking their numbers at that the village share would be, 40,000, 40-something thousand, and we have terminal license fees. Let's say that the contribution was 50,000. It's not, you can't quite look at it the same as that's 1.5 houses, because the tax bill on houses, the village only gets about 2%. Most of it goes to the taxing districts, the other taxing districts. The village share of property tax bills is lower. The village property tax levy this year, what's being collected this year was $824,000 total for the whole village. That's the property tax levy for the entire village. So you can do the math, a contribution of 50 or 50-something thousand dollars in comparison to a village property tax levy of 824,000. That's probably what the village board was thinking about at one point when it first heard about this. So,
well, thank you. That's a great point, and I did not think of that. So thank you very much for telling me that. That's a very fair point.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the audience? I don't see any hands or waving? All right. Bruce, do we now have a discussion amongst the plan commission?
Let's just, want to clarify that the applicant is done as well. So at this point, without taking any further testimony, it would be appropriate to have a motion to close the public hearing. And if we do that, then at this point, what is it, Doug?
Henry?
Henry raised his hand.
Henry.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the presumed contribution to the village. Is there any way that you can structure this so that what you're telling us that we're going to get, let's assume it's $45,000 plus or minus 5,000, including the licensing, that can be in a way guaranteed to the village, regardless of your revenue?
We can't guarantee that. The number I took was, it wasn't a pie in the sky estimate. It was exactly what Baby Vegas Cafe gave to Hoffman Estates as far as per the Illinois Gaming Board statute. That's based on about $250,000 to $283,000 in play, in funds in. To be relative, Betty's Cafe, a quarter block away, takes in double that amount. So I was conservative, but I was factual. Baby Vegas Cafe and Hoffman Estates, that's the money they bring in, based on half of what Betty's Cafe does. And if I add Cafe Mystico in there, you're talking about 40%. So we can't guarantee it. It's just that's the most realistic number I could come up with based on actual numbers of what Hoffman Estates received via the statute. I hope I answered your question, Henry.
Bruce, is there any way that something can be structured as some way of a benefit to the village if the numbers that they're saying don't come true for the first 3 years, let's say?
I suppose we could ask them that that is part of the, I mean, they're not asking for a special use. They're not in a position to make that bargain as part of a special use because the special use applies to the shopping center as a whole. So I'm struggling a little bit to see how we might do that, Henry.
So if we're looking at this as a value proposition, which a few of our participants tonight talked about, and I understand the downsides, but if we're looking at this, that the village revenue would be significantly enhanced, then we're saying, to what extent are we willing to compromise? But if there's no guarantee on that, then we've compromised and not received anything. Maybe this isn't a discussion we can have at this point in time, but I think it's worthwhile looking into if that's what they're presenting to us. If this is going to be a significant benefit to the village because of the revenue you're going to get, that's right now buying a pig in a poke. So, but that was my comment, Laurie.
Bruce, as you know, we have to abide by the statute of the state of Illinois. 2 years ago, when J.B. Pritzker took over, he raised the taxes on the end user, the businesses, as well as us. He didn't give extra money to the municipalities. The municipalities have stayed the same. The terminal operator and the location owner were taxed more. So per the statute, we cannot give a guarantee of what the revenue is going to bring in because a year from now, 2 years from now, J.B. Pritzker might say, I want to raise taxes again. I don't know if you're going to receive that money because what he did last time, and a lot of municipalities yelled about it. They said, wait a minute, you're raising the taxes on the terminal operator, but the municipality is not getting the extra money. You're just giving it to the state coffers. And that's what happened. In a lot of places like Peoria, Rockford, places that are big in gaming per capita, they were in Springfield lobbying, basically saying, wait a minute, if you're going to raise the taxes, give us 0.5% more. And the administration said no. So I know for a fact we cannot give a guarantee of what you're going to receive. It's based on funds in and the percentage that the municipality gets.
Right. For purposes of this record, you don't have such an agreement with any other municipality, do you?
No.
Well, it's something, if the plan commission, whatever its action it takes tonight, it's something that could be further considered by the board if there's some mechanism. It's off the top of my head. I can't come up with one at the moment, Henry.
Henry, you have your hand raised. Do you have a follow-up question?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So other than I didn't see Henry's hand the last time, if there's no further statements, questions, or testimony, then the next phase would be for the plan commission to have a motion to close the public hearing. And at that point, the debate would be limited to discussion among the plan commissioners. It's very difficult at that point to start having other people weigh in, because at this point they have to come to some meeting of the minds themselves or one way or the other. So I'm just letting everyone know it's not trying to be rude or disregard you, but the normal process is once the hearing is closed, that was the opportunity for everyone to speak in a fashion where there's due process. Once it closes, there's nothing else that's added to that record, so to speak, and now the plan commission will deliberate. So I think that's the stage we're at right now.
Well, I just want to say before you close this session, I want to thank you, Bruce, and everyone in River Woods for listening to us. It's been a long process, and I really appreciate the professionalism that you displayed in dealing with us from start to finish. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate that, Bruce, and I know that Mike and Tom do as well. And thank you very much. I really mean it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, we will
You need a roll call vote.
have a roll call.
Mr. Blaylock,
Aye.
Mr. Levin,
Aye.
Mr. Rothbart,
Aye.
Chairman Brightcroft.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, so discussion among the plan commissioners. Yes.
I think that I come down on the side of agreeing with some of the people that feel that it not the kind of thing that belongs in Riverwoods. So just my 2 cents.
Okay, Steve?
I kind of agree, but the interesting point is that the problem isn't even so much with this type of facility. I think Riverwoods has an image of generally what type of facility they want in the village, what type of appearance they're trying to project. We probably feel the same way if it was a tattoo parlor or something of that nature. And I think the problem lies more in the way our shops are operated, their potential and the current configuration, whether that's the problem more than a particular, company that comes in with their idea. So I'm not sure if we can solve that sitting here right now, but that's what I kind of feel.
Carrie?
I think this comes down from an emotional standpoint and a business standpoint when we look at this, right? on an emotional standpoint, the people of our community are like, absolutely not. This is not going to be a good thing because it's going to give crime. It's going to be open too late. It's going to be a lot of different things. But from a business standpoint, it is going to bring more money into our community. And that's hard to kind of justify that a little bit because there's two emotional side. There's emotional and there's a business side here. So that's kind of where I'm conflicted a little bit in that. That's kind of where I see it.
I understand what you're saying, Carrie. And if the expected revenue was significantly higher, I would put more stock in that. But if you say there's 1,300 homes in the village, $50,000 is only like $38 a year per home. And I know all of our taxes are too high, but the taxes going to the village are really very low. And I think I'd rather pay the $38 than have a gaming facility in the village.
And I guess that's interesting, Carl, because is that what it is? Is when I know when Bruce was talking about this, how much is that money really add up to? And I guess I'm a little bit still confused on that from just thinking about it. And I say to myself, I mean, I've been in Riverwoods 4 years. I live in Thorngate, so I don't live anywhere near there, but I do go that way, right? And I think about the people behind, yeah, that it's probably not going to draw the greatest crowd. That in my head, I say that, right? Like I said, so that's where I'm conflicted a little bit, I guess I can say, right? I mean, that's kind of where I'm looking at it.
Have the trustees discussed this and made a stand on this issue?
No stand. There was a presentation before the board of sort of the general outlines of it, and the board felt that it should be referred to the Plan Commission for a hearing and for discussion and for all these things to be brought out. We didn't have this level of detail at the board meeting.
Has this place been standing for 3 years? Is that true? Without being rented?
I don't know if I know.
You said 3 years. I didn't think it was that long.
I mean, there have been vacancies. I couldn't say this exact space. I mean, obviously the center lost the Chase Bank. It lost Panera. You can see that there are vacancies there. The last request that we got was for a tobacco store. And I don't know if they're, in fact, I don't know what the status is, whether they're moving forward or not at this point. But, you know, anecdotally, the owner has told us it's very difficult to lease because of the street improvements on Milwaukee Avenue, the way the barrier median was put in on Milwaukee that limited access to the center. They did make some headway. They got a permit from IDOT and improved the access at the very north entrance to shops. But it's all of our retail district is challenged now by what happened with Woodman's, and then will be further challenged by what's happening on Deerfield Road, because another barrier median will go up on Deerfield Road. And really the only way into Colonial Court will be right in, right out on Deerfield. And then it's challenging.
Does this?
I don't know if the issue was, because of Woodman's or any development. There was a problem with those shopping centers for years. I mean, there was never a thriving, shopping experience. So I have a little question about that. Again, I think that if we really want to, be successful as a community, we have to address the real problem, which is what to do with that corner. It's never gonna provide us with enough money that we're gonna, and here, look, a tobacco store and this. People are coming to us because they see that we're weak and we're hungry for money. We don't have a strong base. So this is who's coming to make a presentation. And I hate to see a shopping center that's filled with those types of facilities. Only with those five, or heavily populated with those types of facilities.
Any other discussion? All right, what's the next step, Bruce?
Well, the Plan Commission is advisory to the village board on this matter. And the applicant has requested that you favorably recommend the approval of the text amendment and the amendment to the special use. For purposes of tonight, I think you could limit any recommendation to the video gaming aspect. I know that I included in the notice the other aspects that talked about the service station, but that was probably, in hindsight, that's going to come up with the Thornton's development anyway. I can just renotice for that because there'll be many things to notice for that when it comes around. So for anyone who was concerned about that, it'll be back with full notification about that. They have other things that need approval if they're to go forward. So the amendments, to the extent that they relate to just the uses with the retail uses within shops, which when this application is for a video gaming parlor, is really what's before you. And if you have a motion to recommend granting the text amendment to the amendment to the special use, that's advisory, will be taken up by the village board. If there's no recommendation, I think maybe there would be a motion to deny the request. That would be advisory again and taken up by the village board.
Do the rest of the commissioners have to be here tonight for this as well? Or
No, you have a quorum.
You have a quorum, okay.
I don't know, since the other commissioners weren't able to be here, the applicant would have to wait. We'd have to reopen the hearing. They have to wait for them to come back, or, some places have rules about them being able to listen to the entire, a hearing, a recorded session before they can take place, and then they weren't here to ask questions. So I think procedurally wise, it would be best for the Plan Commission to act tonight.
Can I just say this? I think, I mean, in terms of making a decision, I understand this, but a little more research in knowing the area where they're talking about and looking into that, if we were to consider that, would be better than making a decision on this immediately. That's just my thoughts on this, to really see what they're really talking about, if there's a way to do that, than making a decision. Like, that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, if we make a decision, we make a decision. I get that.
There's no requirement that you reach this decision tonight. And if you put it off for another meeting, I don't know if that conforms to the period they have in their lease for due diligence, but
okay.
If you were suggesting that the Plan Commissioners have an opportunity to go look at one of the other operations or go over there, or what are some of the additional information that you would want to pursue in that period?
I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, it's, if, as said, mostly versus business wise here, business. And I obviously think that this community, thinking about it, would definitely go on the emotional standpoint of this, and not because the amount of money coming in is not going to be justified. So if the Plan Commission decided to make a vote tonight, I would be obviously with them on that. I don't need to do the other part, but I'm just curious what other people are thinking on this. It seems like it's just really Carl here and Stephen and I thinking about this tonight. So I'm not sure how they're, where we're going with that, I guess, is my question. I mean, I'll go with what the commissioners are doing, what we say is going to happen. So I'm fine with it either way, but.
Can I just interject here that I know this is going to sound stupid. I'm not sure it's going to come out of my mouth, but I have no problem about the text amendment per se. My question is the philosophy of this kind of a place going in, and what attitude this village has towards this type of commerce in the village. So I think we need more direction from the trustees, who are in a better position to determine that question. Because, the few of us that are here, I don't think that we're we're empowered with that type of decision.
But that is, yes, we are empowered with that a recommendation in any event. They can overrule it or not. So we can make a decision, which would be a recommendation, and they will do what they're going to do.
Oh, that does happen.
Yes, that does happen.
It is confusing a little bit on that. Yeah, I kind of agree with Stephen on that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, are we prepared to make a recommendation, or do people want to hear more? Steve and Carl? Are you prepared to make a vote, to make a recommendation? One way or the other?
Yeah, I'd be prepared to make a recommendation.
Do you want to tell us what it is?
I think I know.
Well, my recommendation would be to deny the request.
Is that a motion to deny the request and transmit that recommendation in that form to the village
Oh,
board?
that's sneaky. That's a sneaky approach to get it, Kyle.
I can make it a motion. I move that we recommend to the village board to deny the request.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
All right.
Roll call.
Can I make, is there a discussion here? Not really.
There can be.
Okay, I just want to say that I'm not speaking for anyone else, just me, obviously, that if this went to the trustees and the trustees were adamant and said, no, this is the type of business that we'd like, and I can come back and get a chance to look at the text amendment topic a little more carefully, I may change my vote. If that was the directive that I got, that that's the philosophy of our village.
I don't know what to read in the fact that the village board heard the presentation and directed the matter back to the plan commission. They actually said that they didn't want to be pulled, so I don't know what the board thought at the meeting. They thought it was more appropriate that it come before the plan commission. Henry, you're one of the trustees, maybe you.
Yeah, the trustee specifically wanted the plan commission to hear this and give a recommendation. We had discussed the idea of not putting it through the plan commission because this was going to take some time and effort, and to hear it directly. The question also came up that if the trustees, although we didn't discuss it specifically, that if they were adamantly against this, then why make the plan commission hear all this to go through this process? So I want to tell you that your opinion does matter. The Board of Trustees, my impression was that they were looking for you to hear this and give us what you think is the best answer that you can. This was one of the more unusual ones we've had over the last few years. So I do not want you to think that this was just a way of passing it off to you because we don't want to deal with it.
That's in the book.
And Lori was there at that meeting, and I think we expressed exactly what I said to you, to the board, and we had no one objecting to that method of processing it this way.
Correct. All right, well, we have a motion and a second. Shall we have a roll call vote on this?
Yes.
Can I have a question? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just have a question. Let's just say I didn't agree with this. How does that work for me? Just curious.
Did you second the motion?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, then you can vote against the motion.
I'm just asking, how does that work? And this is my first time really doing this. So I'm curious how this works.
The motion is a recommendation to deny. Those who in favor of that vote aye, and those who are not in favor of that would vote nay. And so the vote could be 3-1, 2-2, 1-3, and that will be the vote of the motion. If the motion fails, then presumably it's either a tie, and there's nothing you do with the tie vote. It just, the report would go to the board as, you know, this is the result.
Yeah.
And Carrie, you should vote the way you feel you.
Well,
you should
I
vote
guess,
your
as I said, I'm conflicted. The reason I'm conflicted is I feel like I need more time and research on this more to know if this is something I'd want. I mean, not me personally, but thinking about it. That's in my head here. But then again, I don't know, I'm kind of be on the spot here trying to figure this out, how I want to do it. That's all. I'm just saying, I feel like I would need more, I would like more time. That's just my personal opinion. I just feel like here we are, here you guys make the decision, and I feel a little bit, uneasy, I guess you can say, at this moment. That's all. So I guess it's on me. That's what it is. So.
Well, it's the price you pay for a leadership role.
I know.
That's what
I
we
know.
get paid the big dollars to do.
Yeah, exactly. Voluntarily. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll go with what everyone says. That's fine. So
Well,
you have a third. You have a third.
Call the motion.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Rothbart,
Aye, whatever you want to say.
Mr. Oh goodness, Mr. Blaylock,
Aye.
Mr. Levin,
Aye.
Chairman Brightclough.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So we'll prepare a report to the board. I think normally we just summarize a bit of the discussion and the reasons. I think your reasons were fairly succinctly stated. And the board will receive the report. They can review the entire testimony because we've recorded this. Probably would encourage them to do that. And the next board meeting was shifted because of the holidays. The next board meeting is September 14. So perhaps we will have all this in time for them to have it on the agenda to consider at the 14th, the report of the Plan Commission.
Okay. Thank you, commissioners, for your candor and for your diligence. I think we are ready to move to the comments by the chairman, which I have none. And I think we are also ready, unless there's anything else, Bruce, or anybody else would like to raise right now. Do you want to talk about the Thornton's application, when it might come in, et cetera?
Okay, well, just quickly, Thornton's had a little bit of a snafu for a while with how to get the entrance into their site. There's a right in and right out to match up with what the county is doing. The county's project is 2 years later. So we were trying to get the county to give us details of their engineering, which they hadn't quite done yet, because where the road is for Deerfield and where the entrance is to Thornton's, the elevations have to line up. There are engineering issues, but fortunately the county worked with us to advance some of that so that Thornton's could complete its engineering. And now that those questions seem to have been mostly resolved, Thornton's has to redesign some of its, redo some of its drawings. So what they're telling us now is they think they will need more time than it would take to be on the October 7th meeting. And it looks like tentatively they would be on the November 4th meeting by that time.
Okay. Is there anything else that commissioners would like to raise? Or Bruce or Henry? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
There's one thing, because this is a Zoom meeting, we have to have a second public comment for the record.
Thank you.
We have to ask if there is any
Any more?
public comment or emails. Yeah.
Okay. Did we receive any emails? I don't know. Do you know, did we? I'm asking Katie right now. She'll have that answer in a moment. I do want to thank all the participants for their civility and their good questions. Please come back when we talk about the Thorntons project.
And Lori, while we're waiting, just a conversation to you and Bruce, actually, over the last month or two, I've sent you articles out of the newspaper and the media, things that some of our neighboring communities are doing with development and stuff like that. Is that worthwhile? Is that constructive? Is anyone looking at that kind of stuff? Or is that, is someone maybe on the trustees looking at that? Things about like what Wheeling is doing and, you know, Lincolnshire and some of the other development issues.
I would love to have somebody get some venture capitalists involved in some kind of development in the village. I mean, if anybody knows any venture capitalists or where there might be some serious money so that we can talk seriously about that northeast corner of the village, northeast corner of Milwaukee and Deerfield Road, I would love to entertain that. No, okay. So anyway, yeah, I mean, keep sending those and if anybody knows anybody who knows anybody, please, let's get some creative thinking going on here and do something unusual, you know.
Be inspired by Hawthorne Melody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, Wheeling looks really nice too now.
Wheeling, yeah.
Everything looks great. If we would have that, it'd be fantastic.
Well,
okay.
Let's see if we can find somebody. It would be excellent. If we could. There are no questions from the email. Okay. Jerry, what else must we do?
Just the motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, that is all.
No, that's no problem. It's fine. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sure.
Carrie moves.
Second.
Steve seconds. Roll
And
call.
we need a, Mr. Blaylock,
Aye.
Mr. Levin,
Aye.
Mr. Rothbart,
Aye.
Chairman Brightcloth.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you,
And
everybody.
good job, Lori.
Yes, Lori, good
No,
job.
really, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening,
Thanks.
everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you for your participation.
Good night, Bruce.